a person 26-0, I up in my record.
For Barboza, come on. What do you have?
I hope and pray that he sees me at a tuna fight. When the time comes,
we don't see nobody. No, don't even come up like that, bro. We don't underestimate nobody. That's why we always stay in shape, baby. You know, we don't do that.
But I swear to God, that motherfucker's very basic, and I'll make him basic. So if he wants to do it, keep the same energy, keep be a man of his word, and let's get it.
I think you're talking about the wrong
February, but every time I have to wait for this time, I'll do it.
Nothing from being basic, bro.
What's that?
You must be talking about somebody else. My son is not basic at all.
Man, your son's basic. You guys are on your high horse because you beat a crippled Loma. But come to 140, go for the big boy, and we'll see what happens. Your son's in the sandlot, man. He ain't even at the big boy, so don't even come at with that bullshit. You're gonna sign a check.
You're not even gonna touch my son, bro.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy KB with Just Do Boxing, back with another video. And so, you just heard Teofimo Lopez Sr. and Arnold Barboza Jr. on the phone. You know, they did an interview at the Fighters Voice podcast. So shout out to them, you know, and they exchanged words, and they're talking about a potential fight between Teofimo Lopez Jr. and Arnold Barboza Jr. And, you know, they exchanged words. You know, Barboza told him, you know, his son is very basic, man. You know, he's not in the big leagues yet. You know, they're on their high horse because they beat a crippled Loma. You know, he's not that good. He felt like Teofimo was basic. Teofimo Sr. stated that, you know, his son is not basic and that Barboza wouldn't even be able to touch him. What do we have to offer? Things like that. So I thought this was very interesting because it's being reported that a potential fight could be in the works in May between Arnold Barboza Jr. and Teofimo Lopez Jr. You know, the last time, you know, Barboza, he's 5'9", 72-inch reach, 30 years old, 26-0, 10 KOs. He fighting at junior welterweight. That's 140 pounds. And last time we seen him in the ring was August 14th, 2021. Against 26-4-1 Antonio Moran, who he beat by unanimous decision in a fight that was more competitive than what some anticipated. You know, Barboza, he won on all three judges' scorecards, you know, but he still allowed Moran to hang around and be a lot more competitive than what it should have been. You know, he was countered, you know, and at some points he was allowing, Moran to outbox him, you know, but, you know, even though the fight was competitive, like I say, he won on all three judges' scorecards, man. He won pretty comfortably, but it still was competitive, you know. He fought well behind his jab. He showed a real good 1-2 combination that he connected with throughout the entirety of the fight. You know, he fought at a high pace. You know, he did some good body work. You know, he pretty much outlanded Moran and won a competitive but convincing unanimous decision. You know, he outworked him, outlanded him, but he still allowed him to be more competitive than what I would have thought. Because some few fights back, you know, Moran was, you know, brutally knocked out by Devin Haney. So I didn't think he would last the full 12 rounds with Barboza, but he did. So, but he lost, you know. Barboza won a unanimous decision. Now we got this potential fight between him and Teofimo Lopez Jr., you know, who's coming off a loss over, you know, the undefeated George Kambosos Jr. You know, they fought back in November 27th of last year, and you know, Teofimo lost a shocking upset, split decision upset to George Kambosos, where he was dropped in the first round and just outboxed for the majority of the fight. You know, he was able to rally and drop Kambosos Jr. late in the 10th, but he got up and won the 11th and 12th rounds to earn his split decision victory and became the new unified champion. So, you know, Teofimo, he's looking to make a comeback and he's looking to make a splash moving up to 140, because as he stated on record that he outgrew 135 2 years ago. So this is going to be interesting to see him, you know, for this being his first, potentially being the first fight at 140. You know, Barboza Jr. is a pretty good boxer. You know, he has more fights than Teofimo. He's 26-0. He's not a known puncher. He only has 10 KOs, 30 years old. And I believe he has a slight height advantage, but he has a decent reach advantage, over Teofimo. And he's been at the weight a lot longer, so he's the naturally bigger guy, in my opinion. And Teofimo, he coming off a shocking upset loss over George Kambosos Jr. He can't afford another loss back to back. So the stakes are high in this fight. Barboza is still undefeated. Teofimo is looking to avenge his first and only defeat. In a new weight class. It was being reported that him and Jose Zepeda was going to fight, but I guess in the sport of boxing, things change from day to day. So this is another potential opponent that he could be looking to face. You heard Barboza Jr. and Lopez Sr. on the phone exchanging words, so we know that this is definitely a possibility. They were discussing it themselves, so I think this is a good fight for boxing. It's a good comeback fight for Teofimo. It's a winnable fight, but it's a dangerous fight. It's a fight you also can lose, by going up against a naturally bigger guy, more experience, if you want to say that. In terms of fights, he's technically sound, long arms, decent. He's gonna have a decent reach advantage and a little height advantage over Teo. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he approached this fight. Styles make fights, and I think this on paper, it's 50-50 fight with Teofimo coming off a loss. I want to see what he has left in the tank. I know he got something to prove, and we're gonna just see what he learned from this first loss, man. I think this first fight at 140 is going to tell us a lot about where Teo is at as a fighter, and if he really learned his lesson, in a Kambosos Jr. loss, or is he a hype job, or is it really the takeover? That remains to be seen. I wouldn't call him a hype job. I just think he approached the Kambosos Jr. fight wrong mentally. I think he got bad advice in his corner. I think he didn't have a game plan, and he slightly underestimated Kambosos, and it cost him. I don't expect him to do this going against, Arnold Barboza Jr. if this fight were to happen. I see him, making the necessary adjustments, definitely, to make this fight competitive and win it. I can see Teofimo winning this fight, getting back in the winner's circle and being a player at 140, man. So, that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens next, but that's my thoughts on this potential fight happening possibly for May. I know it's in the talks, so we're going to see if this happens. Hopefully we get this fight, in May, sooner than later. So that's my thoughts on these two fellas, man. Y'all get in that comment section, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if I gave Arnold Barboza Jr. and Teofimo Lopez Jr. that just do, because that's what I do over here, Just Do Boxing. To the next one, I'm out. Peace.